Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine about Krishna from Finland. All the Finnish people.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let's go do it again together, very loud. One loud community together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, one more time, everybody together, very loud, don't be shy. Hare Krishna, deep from the heart, deep from the heart. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Chandradev ki jai, Shri Kali Ramanujan Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for that beautiful kirtan Doyle. And thank you so much to everybody who's come in for here for Bhagavata Sravanam. I just want to briefly introduce Jagannath Priya, who's going to be speaking today on understanding reality. And he's actually, before he became a monk, he did his bachelor's in mechanical engineering and has done dual masters in both Sanskrit and yoga, and is a research scholar in IIT Mumbai. And he held the role of director of special effects for films and television before he took to monastic life 25 years ago. And he's actually been serving in the spiritual development of ISKCON Chowpatty, which some of us have been there in Mumbai for the last 25 years. And he was actually talking to me the other day, and he was saying up until like last week, his time at Bhakti Center, he had never stayed in a place for the last 25 years for more than 4 days, because he travels and he preaches. And so can you imagine, I literally cannot, I mean I can't imagine that, but can you imagine literally not staying in a place for more than 4 days at a time for 25 years? That's how surrendered he is, and how much he is just wanting to serve Srila Prabhupada's mission of sharing Krishna consciousness with others and developing community. That's his heart, is developing community. He also personally served Jagannath Swami for many years. And it's just an example, and he's decided out of his great mercy to us to spend more time in New York at Bhakti Center and give us his association. So we can all sincerely pray to Sri Sri Radhamrita Gaurachandra that he stays more and more time with us so we can hear from him and he can help develop our community. We're so honored to have you here with us, Prabhu.
Before we begin, please join me with the invocation prayers unto our teachers. Om Gyanantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Kadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadamam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamanutamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusude Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam Pavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So welcome everyone. I'm also grateful to be here this morning for the Bhagavata Shravan. Please excuse me if I do not exactly follow the format of the program. I'm trying to figure out. Someone told me there'll be it's a discussion based program. Then someone told you take it as you like. So now I don't know what I'm going to do. When I was asked to speak, I chose a topic, and while I was thinking on what to speak on the topic, it became more clear that I cannot take that topic as such. Maybe I can just bring some theories of understanding or summarize it. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a literature which has been spoken in the glorification of the Lord, in this particular literature, there are very few verses or very few chapters in which Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, gives some instructions to someone. In approximately 18,000 shlokas, verses, there are just a few chapters in which Lord Krishna is directly speaking something. So in the 11th canto, chapter number 28, there's a discussion between Lord Krishna and Uddhav. The whole of 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is discussion between Uddhav, who is a very dear devotee of the Lord, who, having come to know that Lord Krishna is winding up his pastimes in this material world and is going back to the spiritual world, he's disturbed. Uddhav feels, having experienced the presence of the Lord for most part of his life, he is overwhelmed with that feeling that what am I going to do when the Lord will not be here? So for us, we may think it's the presence of God, but for Uddhav it is more than that, because he has a direct personal relationship with God. Imagine you love someone so dearly and you have spent most of your life with that person. Although you may not have done many things together, but when you have to part ways, it creates a sense of difficulty, a big question that how are you going to continue to motivate yourself in life. So Uddhav immediately approaches Krishna and he says that, my dear Lord, now that you are going to wind up all your pastimes, I also desire to be with you, so take me with you. What follows is a very, very interesting and fascinating discussion. In the general conception of life, or in the general conception of philosophy, we learn that realizing ourselves and realizing God are the ultimate purpose of all understanding. Having understood that, you obviously want to stay or belong to a place where you can live in that consciousness. What is the point of experiencing something so good where you cannot be with that thing, right? Nobody wants that. If you experience something wonderful, you want to repeat that experience again and again and again. So Uddhav wants to go and he pleads to Krishna that please give me permission as well. So at that time, Krishna, he instructs Uddhav in certain sciences. Although Uddhav is a very, very advanced devotee, he understands everything about the truth. There is nothing left for him essentially to learn. The purpose of learning is to understand. And the purpose of understanding is to realize. Uddhav has nothing left to realize also. Yet, however, Krishna emphasizes to Uddhav that you better perfect your theoretical understanding and your other practices. Your emotions are in the right place. Your heart is in the right place. But just fix these two things. Your theoretical understanding and also your practices. So I'm not getting into the detail of what Uddhav was not really understanding or what he was not able to practice right. That was not the point here. The point here Krishna is trying to tell through Uddhav to all the practitioners of philosophy that just because our heart is in the right place doesn't mean that we have no other responsibility left. It's important to understand the theory also properly. And that is the whole reason why all these discussions keep coming again and again. For all of you who have, how many of you have read the Bhagavad Gita once at least? Okay, almost everyone. Now tell me, what is the main discussion of Bhagavad Gita? If you have to summarize Bhagavad Gita in one or two words, not sentences, what is this literature all about? Or for example, even the Srimad Bhagavata. What is it all about?
Surrender. Love. Love and surrender.
Love, surrender,
Self-realization.
self-realization, yes,
Navigating existence.
navigating existence. So these are all topics which are covered. But if you have to cover all these topics under one term, one or two terms, just like if you have a book of recipes, what do you call it? It's a cookbook, something, right? Or a book which is teaching so many musical things. So it's a book on music, something like that. So this is a book on what?
Loving Krishna.
Spiritual.
What?
Spiritual book.
Spiritual book, yes, that's its characteristics.
Life lessons.
Life lessons.
Loving Krishna.
Reality.
Book on Dharma.
Reality, book on Dharma. See, all the answers are right. There is not one right answer. In the Bhagavad Gita itself explains what the book is all about. And probably that is the most important word which is repeated throughout the Bhagavad Gita. In the
Dharma.
beginning of the chapter and the end of the chapter.
Dharma.
No. Every chapter has this word.
Yoga.
Yoga. So every chapter has this word Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Sannyas Yoga, and so on. Every chapter is entitled with that word Yoga. And it ends with Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Sankhya Yoga Nama Ditiyo Adhyaya, like that. So the end of every chapter says that this is a Yoga Shastra. Shastra means a scripture. This is a scripture about yoga. Now this yoga is different from what we generally understand as the word yoga. Actually, there is no word called yoga. It's yoga. We do have this International Yoga Day, but that is International Asana Day. So actually, it's very difficult to have an International Yoga Day. if you truly understand what this word yoga means. Yoga. So yoga means a sense of union. In a very simple way, it's uniting, it's a union between a devotee and the Lord. That is what is called yoga. And methods to achieve that are discussed in what is the whole concept of yoga is all about. Then you have these exercises and breathing practices, and this ultimately it's all to bring that the point of yoga. So what Krishna speaks through this word yoga is very different from how it is generally used in the society. And this is the same theme also in the Bhagavatam. Essentially, all these scriptures are yoga shastras, speaking about union, uniting, or being, a sense of being in the whole, in fullness or completeness, a wholesome experience. From a layman's perspective, these words may mean something different. For example, for Uddhav, who wanted to be with the Lord, he was telling that I want to be with you. He was overwhelmed with emotions. And Krishna said, okay, you love me well, that's fine. Just fix these 2-3 things. So it may seem that Krishna is telling Uddhav that fix yourself in Jnana Yoga. Does anybody know what is Jnana Yoga?
Knowledge.
Path of knowledge. Karma Yoga,
Action.
path of activity or action. Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. From our perspective, or let's say even literally from the sense of Bhagavad Gita, these three appear different. One is Bhakti Yoga, one is Jnana Yoga, one is Karma Yoga. From the point of view of Krishna, these three things are not exactly different. They are all interconnected. They are not exclusive paths. And this is the reason why, if they were exclusive, then, you know what is the connecting point for Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga? What is the connecting point? You've been hearing this all this while. Yoga. When you talk about karma, it's activity. When you talk about jnana, it's knowledge. When you talk about bhakti, it's devotion. But when you add the word yoga, it brings all this, it's connecting all these three things together. See it in a form of a triangle. And the central thing is yoga. All these three are together. Now, if these are connected through the principle of yoga, that simply means you may choose any path of bhakti, karma or jnana. The moment you want to make it yoga, the moment you want to unite with the Lord, you will have to invite the other two processes also. I'll give you a very, very simple example. After the program, there is going to be some feast, some prasadam which everyone will enjoy. Someone desired that let us make something like this. Having a desire to make something does not automatically accomplish it. You have to have first the knowledge of, let's say you desired some paneer sabji and some halwa or other things which are there. You have to know how to prepare those things. So knowledge of preparation of those things is called Jnana Yoga. Just having knowledge of those things does not give you an experience. The experience will come about only when effort is put. That would be Karma Yoga, applying action. Imagine you applied action without intelligence, then you will have something which is made, but it would not be palatable, right? So therefore, if there is activity without intelligence, it is waste of time, it is useless. Now, let's say there's a very good preparation and it's made intelligently and nicely, but while serving, somebody serves you with a rude face. Okay, take, have, move on, just go. You'll feel insulted, you'll not feel, you'll lose your appetite. The motivation to relish it will go, but when somebody serves you with that feeling, oh please take some more, and so on, it adds to the value. if someone treats you like a beggar while giving the food, you feel insulted, you feel dishonored. It snatches away the taste of food itself. Not in the literal sense, but in the implied sense. So we also see in such simple things that there is the intelligence of cooking, effort of cooking, and the emotion also must be present for the overall experience to be wholesome. Now, I ask you a question. Which was the best amongst the three? Intelligence, activity, or the emotion?
Emotion. The devotion.
Equally,
All
Yeah, you can be free.
they're all equally important.
Equally important.
Three-legged stool.
Okay. Why? Because let's say if I serve with devotion, but it's all not made nicely, and say, oh please take, you say, okay, no. You'll get scared that every week this person gives me something which is so bad, but with so much emotion, stay away from emotion. So emotion simply doesn't work if there is no activity and also intelligence behind the activity. From the point of view of complete experience, all of them are essential. But for us to begin to understand how to start, these three differences are created. Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. I hope this is very clear. Okay, what is the first yoga which is discussed in the Bhagavad Gita? Yeah. Okay, that's the name of chapter, but the concept of yoga, let's say, which is the first yoga which is discussed. Sure. Buddhi Yoga. Yes. And this comes in the second chapter. It comes in 4 verses consequently, 2.49, 2.50, 2.51 and 2.53. Before even all other yogas are discussed, forms of yoga, Buddhi Yoga is discussed. And this is very fascinating to know that there is no chapter which is centered around Buddhi Yoga, but there is so much emphasis given to Buddhi Yoga in the beginning itself. This comes with the premise that we born as human beings, we have a special ability to understand. And using that ability, you have to understand the different yogas. Essentially, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, even when you take chapters which are loaded with lot of devotion, Krishna or the devotees, they repeatedly tell this. One has to use his mind and fix your mind and intelligence in loving service of the Lord. So it's all about love, but then do what? Fix your mind and intelligence. The word intelligence comes again and again. Now this intelligence, this buddhi is slightly different from the general conception of intelligence, because animals also do have intelligence. This has been a great debate. That from the concept of biology, humans are called as intelligent species. Charles Darwin, I think so. Do you think other species are not intelligent?
They are.
They are in their own domains, and we learn a lot from them. Then why are you?
Everything we copy from nature, animals,
Yeah.
things that swim, walk,
Yeah.
crawl, creepy crawl.
Yeah. So you want to become Spider-Man and Superman? It's just like it's about copying other species, basically Batman, Catman, Catwoman. So then why are humans called intelligent species?
The consciousness.
There's consciousness even in plants.
We can inquire into the absolute truth.
We can inquire into the absolute truth very well.
there's like the intelligence and then also like the physical faculties to kind of act on that.
Other species do have physical faculties. Like dogs have eyes and ears and nose. They have very powerful receptors as far as smell is concerned.
Because we can speak, we can bite, we can share this knowledge when years and years after, like a inheritance.
Yeah, very.
I go with what she said, to the part of inquiring. But you can elaborate on that, right?
Yes.
We can think rationally and make changes.
Yeah, you can make changes. Very good. You can make changes. You can recollect from memory and pass on the knowledge to various generations, as she said. And you use all this faculty ultimately to inquire into the absolute truth. So that's the whole idea. So intelligence means, why human beings are considered intelligent species is because from the basic point of science is that all that you all mentioned. But even the ability to know that you know is only available only for human beings. Animals don't understand that they understand or they don't understand. They are driven instinctively. They do what they do. We know that we don't know, and we also know that we know. And this ability is a game changer. I'm supposed to speak on a verse. I'm just reading the premise. There's one astrophysicist, he made a nice comment which I was reading in one of the blogs. He said very interesting thing. As far as the development of species is concerned from the modern science point of view, the DNA of a monkey and of a human being differs by only 1%. And this 1% brings a whole lot of change in we being humans and they simply being monkeys. Can you imagine what this means? Just 1% change in DNA is bringing a whole lot of intelligence where we are controlling all the species, we are thinking over and above and beyond so many things. And we have faculties to reason. Other animals have faculties to reason, but those are limited to their senses. Like a dog cannot use his intelligence beyond certain things. He is highly limited to his senses. We are not limited to the senses, and that is why we use things like inference, we use things like intuition, and so on. This is just 1%. If we have less than 1%, we would immediately become monkeys. So imagine for us to become even higher species, you don't need to change 99%. If you change hardly 1 or 2% of yours, you'll become the. Imagine the difference between a monkey and human, and you make 1% improvement in your own consciousness. What are you going to become? Something like a demigod, right? Or a devata. That's what essentially it means. I was contemplating what would be a difference in 100% change. It would be almost like God. And therefore, all the scriptures repeatedly emphasize, use this buddhi, this intelligence, in the form of yoga. Not simply using the intelligence for the sake of intelligence, but for the sake of pursuing the truth. So this beautiful verse comes in the Bhagavata. Now Krishna is talking this to Uddhav. He is emphasizing to Uddhav, you have good emotions towards the truth, that's fine. What you need to refine is these things. And therefore he is encouraging him to use his buddhi. This shloka is very beautiful. Pratyakshenanumanena nigamenatmana samvida adiyantavat asajnatva nisango vicharet iha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. By direct perception, logical deduction, scriptural testimony, and personal realization, one should know that this world has a beginning and an end, and so is not the ultimate reality. Thus, one should live in this world without attachment. Purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, there are two main material dualities. The first duality is that one sees material good and bad, beautiful and ugly, rich and poor, and so on. The second is that one sees the entire material world as separate or independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The first duality, that of opposites, is subject to dissolution by the influence of time, and the second duality, that of separateness, is merely a hallucination. One who is firmly convinced of the temporary illusory nature of this world moves about freely without attachment. Although engaging in all types of devotional service for the Lord, such a person is never entangled and remains cheerful and satisfied in spiritual consciousness. So what Krishna essentially is telling here to Uddhav, he is giving the process of how to understand truth, how to understand reality. And he says that because you have buddhi, this Sanskrit word buddhi is different. It is often translated as intelligence. Srila Prabhupada at various places he uses the word intelligence, he sometimes uses the word devotion for the word buddhi, especially buddhi yoga. This is because English as a language has its own limitations. Or rather, when you shift from one language to other language, there is always some difficulty in bringing the whole essence. But the idea here is rather than the Bhagwan ki jai, Buddhi is intelligence, Buddhi is discriminating faculty, Buddhi is reasoning, all these things put together is something called Buddhi, trying to make sense of things in an accurate way. And because we have an extraordinary intelligence, we have methods of deduction of the truth. So here he says, Pratyaksha and Anumana. He begins with this. Pratyaksha means direct perception. Various places this word comes in the scriptures again and again, pratyaksha, pratyaksha. Truth should be determined by direct perception. For many of you who have already read Prabhupada books, Prabhupada gives three forms of evidence. Can anybody tell them? Does anybody remember?
Direct experience, logic, and shabda.
Shabda. That is pratyaksha, anuman, and shabda. Direct experience, inference or logic, and third is verbal testimony. In the beginning, we need a reference to begin with, that is called shabda or verbal testimony. For example, I want to go somewhere, I need to ask someone, it saves me time. So someone may tell that, okay, this is how you get down here, there's a subway, take this train, that train, and this is how you go. Having known that, it does not become my direct experience unless I act upon it. What would be the most important thing? Is Shabda more important? Is the verbal testimony important? Is the direct experience important? Or is the inference more important? Inference means logical deduction. Trying to figure out, oh, if this thing doesn't work, if this road is closed, maybe I can take a route from this side and that side. You try to bring some conclusions. That's inference. What is the most important thing? In generating experience. See, at the end of the day, everything is all about experience.
Direct experience.
Direct experience. Why is that so?
Because the truth, I mean, in the example, correctly, it's
The example of directions, even our phones or Google Maps or GPS, that's like the Shabda from on throughout the pandemic, so many things closed and they're not updated yet. So sometimes you go to a place and it's supposed to be there and then you realize that it's closed. And so, you know, once it's telling you something but it's not updated or it's not accurate, but when you go you realize, oh, there's a traffic jam that hasn't been updated yet, or there's this base itself is closed and it's not there anymore, this location, or it's moved, you know, 2 blocks over or downtown. And so it's not until you go and you see it that you can actually verify it for yourself.
Very brilliant, relevant example. Very good. Direct experience is very much essential. See, this concept of how to determine the truth is given in the Nyaya Sutras, which comes in one of the 6 systems of Vedic philosophy by Gautam Rishi. He brought out this concept of Pratyaksha, Shabda and Anuman. He also brought out one more concept called Upaman, which is analogy. Analogy is different from inferential deduction. So it's very interesting. So this debate has been going a bit, not in very scholarly circles, but this kind of discussion. Shabda is the best, Shabda is the best, the word of authority, verbal testimony is the best. However, when you read the Bhagavad Gita and even when you read Bhagavatam, there are repeated instances where Pratyaksha is given more importance. Although all of them must coexist together. See, we don't need to oversimplify scriptures. It's very essential when we need to understand things with its own complexity. Sometimes trying to oversimplify things brings down the whole literature to a very simplistic thing. You'll be left with something which is not deterministic. Let's say we have to develop our consciousness, being a human being, to understand things with nuances. It's not always to know that this is right and this is wrong, this is number 1, this is number 2, this is better. This black and white philosophy doesn't really work as far as dealing with the truth. Even dealing with our emotions is concerned, it never works like that. So that's why any experience essentially has to be based on direct perception or inferential cognition. Pratyaksha or Anuman, these 2 things must exist. Shabda is just a pointer, it's a motivation, it's an inspiration for us to begin. I think, I don't know where I was speaking the other day. Like just like if you want to spend your Sunday evening going to some restaurant, you find on Google which is the best restaurant, and you go on reviews. Just seeing the 5-star reviews and of hundreds of people doesn't mean that you have actually relished it. So that's just a Shabda. It will become your own experience only when you go personally and you eat it and relish it. And this is why Krishna is telling Uddhav that you have love for me, but you need to logically and also by your own experience determine this thing, that this world is impermanent, it's not worthy of our emotions and our intelligence. It has a purpose which is different than what we perceive through our senses. This has to be determined by you personally. And this is also our own responsibility. It's not enough that we enjoy some discussion like this or some kirtans and some prasad and we feel emotionally attached to a concept. It's very essential that we develop our mind and our intelligence, that in our daily practice on a day-to-day basis, we deal with ourselves in the manners of truth. Otherwise, all our experiences will be limited to somebody else. For example, I loved coming to the temple as long as there were this Thursday night kirtan and the Bhagavad Shravan and so on. If these things shut down, I'm nowhere. I'm lost. Of course, temple has its own importance. Association has its own importance. But why are these things discussed again and again? This is to develop our own character to such an extent that the primary dependence of ours is within our own selves. As long as the primary dependence of our own practices or our spiritual desires is on someone else, we are in a very vulnerable situation. COVID, for example, the COVID situation was an example. Many devotees, many people who used to come to our programs, and I know this must be the same story here as well, right? So many people used to come regularly, but once all the programs stopped, many of them, they left the process altogether. They stopped seeking. They said, now I'm no longer inspired. They got addicted or involved in other habits and they were just lost. What they had built up in their journey of spirituality got lost because of just getting disconnected with some programs or some festivals or some kirtans and so on. As long as the component of our external dependency is greater than the component of our internal dependency, we are in vulnerable situation. And this is the only reason why Krishna discusses these things with Uddhav. Someone who has learned the science of spirituality from the gopis. Now, who is Uddhav? He is a person who had known many things already, has had the association of Krishna, and Krishna in the end, he told, in the end means towards the conclusion of Uddhav's practices, he told, go to Vrindavan and just visit the gopis. Uddhav went to Vrindavan thinking that he is going to give some message to the gopis. And then he realized, seeing the emotion, the love of gopis for Krishna, Uddhav realized that actually Krishna played me. Instead of, he told me to give some message, but all he wanted is for me to experience their love for, the gopis' love for Krishna. And I am now learning something. I am not giving any message. I am taking some message. So the point I am trying to say is Uddhav is already at that stage that he does not need anything to learn. But still, through him, Krishna is telling all of us who are sadhakas, spiritual practitioners, not perfect in our own lives, struggling with our mind and senses constantly, no matter how much we hear, how much we learn. The most fantastic class or most fantastic reading or most beautiful experience of Kirtan, the moment you are out of that environment, when we look within our heart, it's like it's just waiting to get captivated by something. You just require some person, some object just going past you. Within 60 seconds you are gone. As if the whole 3 hours of experience in the temple vanished as soon as you get out of the room. What does that mean? That simply means that we are very weak and that weakness has to be dealt. And that cannot be dealt just by external association. Of course, association is important. Of course, hearing is important. Of course, prasadam is important. Of course, kirtans are important. Everything is important. But let's say our life, let's say the component of our existence is stability is 100%. Out of that 100%, 51% minimum should be within ourselves. 49% should comprise of everything else. Association, kirtan, this, that, everything. The 51% should be your own sadhana, your own meditations, your own practices, your own resolution, your own intellectual enhancement. If it is not 51%, then it's a level playing field for getting captivated. Minimum 51% is what is the requirement. It's not of scriptures, it's my own understanding. If it is 49, I see that you didn't treat me well, you did not behave well, the prasad was not good, the program is no longer so good, this guy is not good. Every time Doyal Gaurang Prabhu would hug me, now this week he didn't hug me, he didn't look at me nicely. You just require, because it is, because if it is less than 50% you are dependent on someone else all the time. If it is minimum 51%, you are rich. And when such many 51% people come together, they bring an enriching association. They contribute to each other, they build on each other's experience, they build on each other's foundations. Association does not mean that I am actually 10% and then the other fellow thinks he's 10%, everyone is 10% and we think that we all will make 100%. No, it doesn't happen. It's a 10% only. The power of spirituality of all those 10% people in the association of 1,000 people is only 10%. What can you contribute with your 10%? You have 90% of things which is highly, it's a mind and intelligence drenched with 90% of garbage. How can I contribute to somebody's spirituality? It's not going to be, it's never going to be possible. And therefore it's very important to understand, association of devotees is not someone else's responsibility. It's not that, oh, I'm feeling weak, so I'll go to the temple because I'll get association of devotees. Okay, that's good. But I must also take the responsibility that when I come to the temple, someone else should also benefit from my association. I should become someone worthy of association. If everyone starts thinking that I can be as unworthy as I am, I just associate, it is keep putting the burden of responsibility of association on somebody else. If every devotee instead thinks, let me try to be worthy, and when all such people, when they come together, that is what is called as Sangha. That is Bhakti Sangha. That is enriching association. Otherwise, amongst hundreds and thousands of devotees together, you could actually get so lonely, you could get lost, you could feel not nourished. So it's very imperative. Otherwise, why would there be all these discussions be needed? Because already it has been established that Bhagavata is scripture by devotees, of devotees, for the devotees. There is no need of all this discussion, pratyaksha, logical deduction, scriptural testimony and personal realization. Means we have this responsibility to determine everything by our experience, not just because Prabhupada said it, because it's in the book, because I am loyal to him. That's not enough. So someone who thinks that simply by pumping emotions, by just intellectual rambling of words or screaming of kirtans and all, I am going to just throw away all my ignorance. It's not going to happen. It has to be gradual. It has to be a personal journey which is done very meticulously and very carefully. So here therefore, in the last line of the purport, although engaging in all types of devotional service for the Lord, the person is never entangled. Such a person is never entangled and remains cheerful and satisfied in spiritual consciousness. In the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, text number 2, a beautiful verse comes. Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksha-avagamam Dharmanam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. It says this knowledge, now it is not referring only to the Bhagavad Gita, it's referring to knowledge about God. This knowledge is king of all knowledge, Raj Vidya. Is king of all secrets. How is it a king of secrets? Suppose you read this book and I say this is a secret book. And I am distributing this book everywhere all across the globe. Almost more than 1 billion copies of Gita have been sold. How is it a secret thing? imagine a magician puts all his tricks on YouTube and he has billions of subscribers and billions of views and he says this is the topmost secret, magic secret. It's no longer a secret. But then why does Krishna say this? This is Raja Vidya and Raja Guhya. Raj Vidya means the king of all knowledge, means that it's so grand, king of all secrets. Does anybody know why is it called as king of all secrets?
Because it needs to be realized personally.
Yeah. Because just knowing the theory will not mean anything. Probably you like it, okay, now I understood, this is the logic. This is the mathematical formula in which this room has been constructed, okay, now it makes sense. That's fine. But you don't become a civil engineer just by playing with algebra. Unless it is personally experienced. And therefore, when he says this, pratyaksha avagamam dharmam, dharma is something. Why dharma is beautiful? Because it will give you a direct experience. That means when Krishna is giving the word that this is beautiful, still he is telling Arjun, please experience it. My word is not enough. Indirectly Krishna is saying my word is not enough. Make it your own experience. Then what will happen? It will become a sukha. Sukha means pleasure. Otherwise, information will help, but it will not take you anywhere. I learned something good, but it doesn't become a sukh. At the end of the day, we all want that sukh, right? Not the sukh of hearing, the sukh of being. And that's so important. When a person comes to that stage, then it becomes avyaya. Avyaya means everlasting. Otherwise, I have the sense of pleasure only during kirtan, only during the association, only during reading, only during hearing. After which, my sukh disappears. So for sukh to become everlasting, the practice is, me and the practice should become one. There must be oneness in me. So thank you all very much. If there are any questions or comments, please add.
I'm reminded of, thanks so much for sharing that, it was very beautiful. Just reminded of, I think in psychology there's a term called like locus of control, and some people have an internal locus of control, some people have an external locus of control, meaning folks that have an internal one feel that they are responsible for everything that is going around them. Meanwhile, folks that have put that outside of them are kind of less stable. So I guess the point is like the importance of believing that you have an internal locus of control, and at the end of the day you feel responsible for everything that's going around.
Yeah, thank you. I like that point, locus of control. Yes, please.
Could you share, I really appreciate the point you made about basically taking responsibility for our spiritual lives and not placing that on a temple or a community or somebody else. Because I think it does happen at times where people feel like, my spiritual, whether they're conscious or unconscious, articulated in that way or not, but my spiritual struggle is because someone else isn't doing their part to lift me up.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated that point. I thought that was inspiring. And when I think of a temple like the Chowpatty temple where you spend time, etc., and so many devotees, like you see the result of when people take that personal responsibility. It's very, very powerful. And at the same time, I think that there are instances in life where sometimes we feel at a very, very low point, and all I can do is just show up. And so I'm not in a place to take responsibility to show up and also be a light for everyone else in the room. Like I need to just come and expose myself. Like I'm crawling out of a dark space, or I'm on the verge of just like walking away, or I'm at the limit of my lack of inspiration. And so is there space, and is there value, and is there encouragement that even if you don't feel like you're in the place to take responsibility to be good association, Because sometimes I think devotees also feel like, I'm not good association, so I'm just going to do everyone a favor and stay away. But we also want to invite people in. So can you speak about that dynamic and how to balance those things and where each of them fits?
Yeah, so like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains this, that if we cannot fix our mind and heart in Krishna, no problem, just at least come in the association of devotees who can do that, that will help. And even in that association, if you cannot hear, like for example, there's a class and we feel asleep or inattentive, so we say, okay, you sleep there, no problem. You want to sleep, come in that association and go to sleep. Still that will help. The idea is, why are we exactly coming to the temple? Like, you answered in the question itself. Like, when I am feeling low, I am coming here to build up, to
Expose.
to help myself.
Expose myself, he said. Expose, he said.
No, he said.
Expose his, the
Expose yourself to spiritual.
Yeah, to expose to the Sangha to gain something, right? So I want to build up myself from, I feel myself so low, so I'm coming to build up myself. So when I'm coming to build up myself, that simply means that eventually I want to actually build up myself. I do not want to remain where I am. That's the whole point, right? Now if a person thinks that I simply will always perpetually be where I am, and I go, that really doesn't work. Forget whether it works for the temple or the community or not. It doesn't work for that individual in the first place. So how many times will you just keep going and hitting? So one day you'll have, the purpose of coming here is to build up myself. Let's say I'm scattered in 1,000 pieces. So I come, I gather one piece today. I come next week, I gather the second piece, third piece, fourth piece, and I start gathering myself. I build up myself in such a way that then I come across someone who is also scattered and he is gathering himself, then I can help him in gathering himself. Why? Because I have experience gathering. So it happens with everyone, no doubt, undoubtedly with anyone, even if somebody is very advanced in something, in practices, we all need some sense of association with devotees. That's essential. But limiting our practice only, thinking that just being in the association is enough, is not good for someone who wants to gather himself properly. So if I am just coming for a temporary relief, that's very good. If I am coming to be someone, I must do something. So both of them are essential. It is not one over the other. That's not the point which I was trying to make. That come and take responsibility, that's also not the point. But the idea is, eventually you will have to take responsibility for yourself, right? Let's say in the COVID times there was no kirtan happening. Maybe online kirtan must be happening, I don't know. Was there online kirtan, Sangha?
Yeah, you try it.
And still it wouldn't be so nourishing, right? So you can try all those kind of things, but when you come in person, you experience. Even after experiencing, we have seen, even after attending, like let's say, for me it's not a big time, but last 25 years I must have heard thousands of lectures and I have given thousands of lectures. But despite all of that, it does happen that all those external things don't support for a very long time. It gives you an inspiration, but it cannot become your main structure. Eventually you have to build on that inspiration. So the point here is, take inspiration and build on it. Don't stop at just taking inspiration. Immediately go to the next stage. Start making yourself, start building yourself. People are there in the temple to help you to gather yourself, to build yourself. But then that building must happen by your own self. A temple can provide Bhagavatam class, Bhagavad Shravan, Kirtan, Prasadam, and like-minded people come and talk. But eventually when I go out of the door, I must not go back to where I was. And I can repeat that, actually you can do that. You can do that perpetually, that's what this world is for. You keep doing what you want to do. You are given some freedom, but then it doesn't help you, right? So both these things have to be taken in that context. Let's say when I'm new, I'm not expected to take that responsibility, but over a period of time, if I'm sincere, I should understand that this place has nourished me so much. I have always got so much from others. Why not I also become something that somebody is getting something from me? I'm talking from the point of inspiration, not just simply services. That's not the point. That now, okay, clean the floor, serve prasadam, cook. I'm not talking that. That's inevitable. But I'm talking of the deeper inner inspiration. And does that help?
Thank you so much.
Say something related.
Yeah.
I want to share something else as well about that topic because it's very interesting and it happens many times, right? People can feel depression, people can feel low and fear many times, right? And I think that something that helped us a lot is think about in the past when we were kids and we never felt that fear and we never felt depression. When you are a kid, when you see a baby or children over there, they are playing, they are enjoying life and following what they love, and they are pure, right? They are really focused on the things that they really enjoy to do. And yeah, also the kids, when we follow what the adults do, the kids learn and understand that I am a kid. I cannot do my own decisions. If I do something, an adult is gonna say to me, yes, it's good, or no, it's not good, or you need to follow this, or this is dangerous for you, because the kids, they don't understand that something is dangerous or not. They just do it and that's it, right? So then we develop a sense of I cannot make decisions by myself. Someone else is gonna do it. I'm a kid, I cannot do it. An adult should do it for me. And then we grow and we arrive to 18 years old and we start thinking, no, the teacher is gonna decide for me. I cannot decide, I cannot. And we start thinking, I can't, I can't, I can't. And we develop that feeling as a normal feeling. Yeah, and then we grow and we arrive to the university and we think the same. The teacher is gonna decide for me. And then we go to the doctor when we became sick and we think, the doctor is gonna decide for me, even if I'm eating not properly and not taking care of my nutrition. The doctor is gonna decide for me. I'm not gonna take the responsibility of taking care of what I eat or how I do sport or how I sleep. Someone else is gonna decide for me, right? So no deciding, not take decisions, make us not being responsible. And I think after a time reflecting about it, that being responsible from the moment that we became adults with 18 years old is not an option. It's actually not. It's required. You have to be responsible. You need to make decisions. And if you don't do them, you start feeling that you cannot. You continue feeling like when you were a kid and you was thinking you're not ready for making the decision by yourself. Yeah, you can. And thinking about the cow that way and trying to confirm why that happened to you is a way of thinking that way. Because another things cannot fix, like you can go drink alcohol, you can go to the temple, you can do many things, traveling, going to look for, I don't know, maybe a girlfriend, boyfriend, but you will still feeling something there. Because you need to take the responsibility, make the decisions about the thing that made you feel that way. That is not gonna disappear. And at the moment that you do it, you became like you start feeling and having more self-esteem. And that power is making you 100% someone that is writing on a higher level and having bigger responsibility and being able to share your knowledge. Because of that, when you was going through that, you was learning something. You was needing to learn from that. That is the thing, right? So that is what I.
Thank you so
Hi Krishna, we're gonna have, yeah, thank you so much. We're gonna have arti now, so if everyone can just move these red cushions to the side. Everyone come forward, you can split the chairs back and come forward so that we can dance and sing together.
Ashramidar ki jai. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine
Hare Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paramahansa Grace, Sutta Shishmar is Divine Grace. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जय। जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा देवी की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। Kalika Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to the divine lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
every single Sunday. Please come back, please bring your friends. Next week will be with Dina Bandupuru, who is a very, very dear community member here at Bhakti Center. And then the following week will be Siddharnath Prabhu, who is an incredible pillar of Bhakti Center. So please come back again. If you're not on the temple newsletter and would like to be on it, you can join by going to bhakticenter.org and scrolling down to the bottom and click join our temple newsletter to get updates on events that we're having. And if you want to join our temple WhatsApp, you can come see me. And we have a beautiful feast for you served in the back, cooked with love by our wonderful cooks. And so please stay, leave a donation if you can, and have prasadam. And thank you, that's it.
We're in a little school of Bhakti.
Yeah, why don't you announce it?
We're starting a little school of Bhakti.
Starting the Little School Bhakti, which is going to be a program for kids on Sundays, and it's launching in April. What is
April
the date? April 9th it's launching, and it's going to be from what time? The same time?
Bhagavata,
11 a.m.
12:30.
11 to 12:30.
Yep, and so it's for kids and families, so you can just go to the website of the Little School of Bhakti. You can find it there for children of different age groups, and so it's just ways that parents can bring their kids and also Vedic values and learning for children. So they'll look at various personalities like Arjuna from the Gita and various Vedic personalities and lessons from their lives and activities and verse learning and kirtan for kids. And they'll all come here and they'll take prasad together.
It's so exciting. We used to have a Sunday school like this, which gave the opportunity for parents with kids to bring their kids and be able to come back to Sravanam. And a lot of parents are like, yeah, I can't come anymore because we don't have that. So we're really excited that now we're going to have that. So if you have, yeah, spread the word. Hare Krishna.